Hey everybody, we've been moving through a series together called Start the Party. It's all about the promise Jesus made about getting the most out of life. The party that we are invited into when we choose to follow Jesus with our lives. Now, when we say party, we mean any effort to celebrate, serve, or enjoy others in a way that adds value to life. And God is calling you to be one of those party starters, to be someone who invites others into experiencing the full life that God offers us. Sounds pretty good, right? And what's a better way to start a party than with music? I think most of us would agree that music makes a lot of things better. Whether you love music or you don't really care about the music all that much, the vibe of a party just doesn't feel right without music playing. If you've been around at Hope, you know that we typically sing a few songs each week as part of the service. And then we talk about music and singing at church. We usually call it worship. That simply means to show or express our love, respect, or admiration for God. When we sing at church, we're using music to express how we feel and what we know to be true about God. And while some of us might really connect with God through music, some of us might not, and that's okay. While music is a great way to worship God, we might think it's the only way to worship God. That to really connect with and worship God, we need to be singing songs or saying certain prayers. But what if worship was actually more than singing songs or saying prayers? What if God is a creative God who put creativity in us to creatively worship? To help us out, we're going to look at something a guy named Luke documented in a book of the Bible called, Luke. While Luke never personally met Jesus, he did talk to people who knew Jesus. He wrote down the stories and experiences that they had with him. In the encounter that we're looking at today, Jesus was having dinner at a home of one of the Pharisees, a group of religious leaders at that time. The host of the dinner would have been a guy who thought he had all the answers about what it meant to live the right kind of life, to do the right kind of things, and worship God in the right kind of way. See, the Pharisees lived by these religious law at the time. But Jesus, he came to help people see what truly following God looks like. Even if the Pharisees didn't get it, others did. Other people like the woman we're going to read about today. Take a look at this interaction between the woman and Jesus. When a certain immoral woman from the city heard he was eating there, she brought a beautiful alabaster jar filled with expensive perfume. Then she knelt beside him at his feet weeping. Her tears fell on his feet, she wiped them off with her hair, and she kept kissing his feet and putting perfume on them. If this sounds a little expected, it's because it was. First of all, unfortunately, women at this point in history were considered very low in society. So the fact that a woman not only showed up at the Pharisees' home, but she approached and touched someone like Jesus would have been an extremely big deal. With that, this particular woman didn't have a great reputation. The Pharisee even called her a sinner. To the Pharisee, all of that meant one thing. This woman shouldn't have been able to worship Jesus. In his eyes, she didn't deserve to approach him, let alone fall to her knees and worship him. Yet, that's exactly what she did. Back then, washing the feet of someone else was considered an act of service. So when this woman knelt before Jesus and did just that, she was serving him. More than that, she was getting creative to do it. She used what she had, her perfume, her hair, her tears, to worship Jesus however she could. Here's one of the things I think is so cool about her encounter with Jesus. This woman's act of worship wasn't necessarily practical, purposeful, or even traditional. It wasn't what was required of her. She may have had millions of reasons why she shouldn't have done it, but she did it anyways. See, she chose to do two things here. First, she didn't let anything distract her from pursuing the full life that she knew Jesus was offering. And second, she got creative. She used what she had to worship God in a creative way. And I love that, because God is a creative God. You see, God modeled creativity for us. Think about the way God made this world. Let's just talk about the colors for a minute. God could have made everything black and white, but he chose to give us a rainbow of colors, shades, and tones instead. Or think about nature. Anyone have a guess on how many species of plants and animals there are? It's around 8.7 million species, though only 1.2 have actually been identified. God could have just called it a day after 100, but he made millions of uniquely beautiful things that fill our world. I mean, have you ever seen a platypus? God definitely needed creativity to come up with that. What about people? Talk about creativity. Just take a look at the people around you. We're all made so uniquely beautiful and diverse. That's God's creative design. And I could talk all day about the beauty that God gave us in creation. Think about the sunrise breaking through the darkness or a vibrant sunset. Think about the stillness of the mountains or the rush of a waterfall. Or how big the ocean is and how endless the sky is above you. Think about the smell of flowers or the colors of leaves on the trees. When you see beauty like that around you, you're seeing the work of a creative God. I have to think the woman in this story is worshiping God in her own unique way. And it was a reflection of the same creative God who made her to do just that. And that's what made her a party starter. Because a party starter understands that there are creative ways to worship God. See, the way that God used creativity to make every detail of the world beautiful gives us permission to do the same in our lives. We are made in the image of a creative God, which means we can be creative as well. And that's what reflects God to the world. Let's go back to the woman who found a creative way to worship Jesus and what happened as a result. Well, look at what Jesus did when he responded. I tell you her sins, and they are many, but they have been forgiven because she has shown me so much love. Imagine if this woman had let what she did or didn't have with her keep her from worshiping Jesus. This woman's act of creative worship made her a party starter. And the same could be true for us, because a party starter understands that there are creative ways to worship God.